Kitchen time.
Hello, little starshines. Today, we are going to be turning all of the leftovers into meals. I don't know how y'all's family is, but my family will basically not eat food unless it's made for them. In here is a whole turkey breast. We've got some leftover chicken, a huge thing of watermelon I'm going to keep cutting up. We've got some spinach. We've got lots of leftovers. There's some mashed potatoes stuck back here. And I don't really know what the plan with it all is, but we're going to stick it all in these little to-go boxes that hang out right here and make it easier to eat. I think I'm going to have you mostly set up from this angle so that y'all can kind of see everything that's going on. Do some voiceovers, because if this is your first time seeing me and y'all don't know, I am super pregnant. Which means lots of potty breaks, lots of sitting down, lots of taking a rest. But one of the main things I'm definitely hoping to make today is some chicken broth, well, I guess chicken and turkey broth, and then some egg drop soup from that. All right, y'all, let's dive in.
So this bone broth was from chicken, turkey, and other veggie scraps that I had in my freezer. The really cool thing about making one of these broths is that you can use the things that would otherwise be thrown out. Although, spoiler alert, it did take me about a week to finish this. I ended up making enchiladas that day instead. What you can see me doing right now is separating the rest of the viable meat from the rotisserie chicken, and I'm going to end up using that for the enchiladas. A note, I forgot to do this, and I wish I hadn't, but it's a really good idea to add seasoning to this chicken, any rotisserie chicken, because they just don't season it all that well, in my opinion. So the big pot is actually what I cooked the turkey in. So I'm doing the same thing that I was doing with the chicken, but now I'm separating any of the viable meat from the turkey. This was a lot of meat. We had probably only gotten through about half of each one of these. But like I said earlier in the video, my family kind of just will not eat if it is not prepared for them. Now I am getting the rest of any of the veggies that I had in the freezer. It was mostly like onion skins and things this time. Some peppers, just little things. Any of the veggie scraps that you would normally throw out, you can just stick it in a zipper bag and freeze it until you're making a broth. I also grabbed a pretty substantial rotisserie chicken from, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It was going to start going bad and my family just was not eating it. So rather than throw out a perfectly good chicken, I stuck it in a baggie, put it in the freezer, and we're going to make some broth out of it. So this ended up having 2 different rotisserie chickens and 1 turkey. Mostly bones from the animals and skins, but the 1 rotisserie chicken that was in the freezer, that did actually have a decent amount of meat on it. So at this point, the broth is pretty much done. I try to bring it up to a boil first, and then I let it simmer for as long as possible after that. It did end up taking me a couple of days. Usually it takes me about 2 days because I just do not have the forethought to start it in the morning. Like, would be smarter. But what can you do? So I usually let it cool down from about like 5 or 6 p.m. And then once it's cool enough, I just stick the entire pot in the fridge You never want to put hot things in the fridge because it will change the fridge temperature and it can spoil all of your food. So you want to let it cool down first. And then I took this out again to boil and simmer on 2 different days. On the 3rd day is when I ended up straining out all of the chunky bits and putting the broth into I like to use mason jars, but whatever container it is that works for you works. I also proceeded to take out all of our leftovers. We had some mashed potatoes and turkey and veggies for dinner. We ran out of the veggies, so I ended up making more of that. But I started putting those into the little containers so that it was an easy grab and go meal. We also had a leftover baked potato, and so I grabbed that, put some turkey, some butter, some cheese, and just kind of made an easy to eat baked potato. And it worked out really well. I also grabbed out our watermelon so I could finish cutting that up and make sure that that got eaten too. I did make sure to label and write on each one of these what was inside of it, because I don't know about your family, but my family's not going to open each one to figure out which one is the one that they want to eat. So always want to make it easier. We're a very neurodivergent household, and it's important to make mealtimes easy so that we all get the proper nutrients that we need to function throughout the day. This is one of those labors of love that some people find irritating, but I'm just so thankful that I'm in a space where I get to do this, and I get to take care of the people that take care of me. I did actually end up buying a couple packs of glass Tupperwares so that next time I do this, it's a little more see-through. You'll see at the very, very end of the video, I used a lot of those for our egg drop soup and our rice, because I did end up making that. It was just a week later when the broth was done. Whatever works for your family works. Just because I'm doing something a certain way doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. As long as your family is fed and happy, it's perfect. Right here you can see me getting out the veggies again. I'm basically making portions just big enough to fit what was going to be the leftover mashed potatoes and turkey. It ended up just being 2 more portions that I needed. It's really simple. You just toss them in the pot, add some seasonings, let them cook, add a little bit of oil towards the end if you want to make them more like fried or crispy, or if your family prefers them soft, just do a little bit of water instead. But the nice thing about frozen veggies is that they're still pretty fresh once you warm them up, and so it's pretty dang delicious. Now this watermelon was a beast. It was huge, and I was just not physically capable of cutting it and slicing it the way I wanted to, so I just ended up scooping it all out. We ate probably about 1/3 of it when it was cut up like this, and then it was starting to do the thing where it absorbs the extra watermelon water and kind of makes it more like mushy and gummy. And so at the end of the week, whatever was left over, I ended up throwing that in the blender, and you'll see that at the end of the video that I made some watermelon juice. It's really good. It has more of a smoothie consistency because I did not bother straining out the watermelon pulp. I just didn't think that it was important, but if you and your family would not drink it if it was like pulpy or smoothie texture, you could go just one step further and strain out the pulp and make it like a smooth watermelon juice. It was already pretty much sweet enough, but I did add just a little bit of sugar, just because it's juice. You know, it doesn't have to be perfectly healthy all the time. But it took Oh my gosh, so much effort to scoop all of this out. It felt like it was never going to end. I had my biggest Tupperware bowl to put this in. I believe you'll see at some point, I switched from one of my smaller ones and put it into one of my bigger ones. Because it was not actually big enough to hold all of the watermelon. I thought the second biggest one would be enough. It, in fact, was not. But finally got that done, stuck it in the fridge, labeled it, and it was a really nice, yummy snack. This is also completely irrelevant to the cooking, but I ended up watching Princess Diaries 1 and 2 during the filming of this. It was very entertaining, in case you were curious what was going on in my background. So here I'm starting to mix together the chicken, a bunch of cheese, and I added some spinach to sneak in some greens because none of us really mind. And then I stuck it, sorry you can't see this, but I stuck it in my KitchenAid and I let the KitchenAid mix it up and break it up more. So it kind of broke down that spinach, it shredded up the chicken for me even more, and made sure that that cheese was evenly distributed. I definitely added a little more cheese, and I added some green peppers that we had as well. It ended up being so delicious. I really love the everything but the kitchen sink meals that you can pull out of your fridge. And then here my veggies were just about done, so I ended up sticking those in the Tupperware with the mashed potatoes and turkey that I had put in there before, just to make enough space so that I could work on the next thing. So I got out the big baking tray, got a paper towel wet to put on a plate so that we could steam some of the tortillas. I actually did not. I ended up steaming too many at once during the first batch, so they started to dry out and they ended up breaking on me. I don't have like a tortilla warmer. I wish I did. I should invest in one. But I could have just done a smaller batch. You want them to be warm because I use corn tortillas. We have gluten allergy in our household. So I use the corn tortillas and they're not as flexible when they're dry. So steaming them helps kind of loosen them up and makes it so that they're more rollable. The first ones did end up cracking and breaking on me a little bit after I had rolled them and put them in the tray. But that's okay. They tasted the same. They were still delicious. This is thankfully not like a pick up and grab it type food anyways. You stick it on a plate and use a fork, so it really ended up working out. All I do is take one of the tortillas, put some of the chicken mixture on the inside, roll it up, stick it on the tray. I do like to dip the tortillas in the enchilada sauce first when I can, but at this point I had not bought the enchilada sauce and I was kind of debating back and forth whether I was going to get it or whether I was just going to try to make it as is. About halfway through I decided I was absolutely going to go get the enchilada sauce, and I regretted not doing the dip beforehand. It makes it so good. But they ended up delicious anyways, and I did smaller batches of tortillas steamed the next go around. If you ever have trouble with them holding together, I just filled one of my little side cup bowls with water so that it was kind of acting as like a weight to hold them together as I stuck them all together. I hope that makes sense. You know how like when you roll it, it tries to like unroll, and the pressure of them all sitting next to each other is what helps keep them rolled. So I just used that little cup of water to help keep them rolled. Anyways, they ended up being delicious, and happy cooking for you and your family.
All right, y'all, I'm going to take an intermission because I want to get some enchilada sauce for these. I obviously did a much better job of steaming the tortillas on these ones. Less so at the beginning, but hey, you live and learn. I've still got like all of this turkey to do something with, so I'm probably gonna just also do the same thing over again, but with the turkey and the cheese and the spinach. Back to the scheduled programming soon. All right, y'all, we are going to finish up the enchiladas real quick, but then I'm gonna call it a night because it's already almost 7. But then we will pick it back up again tomorrow for a full day of meal prep. I am just gonna tuck y'all in right there. We've got our enchilada sauce. I personally like the green enchilada sauce, but to each their own. I'm gonna cook these for about 15 minutes and then I'm gonna sprinkle some additional cheese on the top. And then cook it for like another 5 minutes maybe. Might do like 10 minutes and 5 minutes, I don't know, let's find out. But they are all smothered and they smell so dang good, y'all. Into the oven they go. Oh, I never put that back up after cooking the turkey. Oh well, that'll work. I might take a little clip of those when they come out. Otherwise, I will catch y'all tomorrow. And thanks for hanging out. Quick check-in. Let it cook for 10 minutes. Added the cheese. We're gonna stick it back in. And we've got melty cheese. Yum. I'm gonna let that cool off. Then I'm gonna stick it in some different containers. Probably keep a little of them for like this week's eats and then put some in the freezer for later on. And yeah, I will catch y'all tomorrow. I'm gonna be real with y'all. It is in fact not tomorrow. It is 1 week later. I ended up making my family's famous cookie recipe as a bulk batch for a party I ended up at on the weekend. I did end up making that double batch of waffles. This is what we've got left. The turkey that I was going to process ended up in the freezer because honestly the fridge did not have any more room for food. Y'all probably remember from a couple minutes ago in the video there was a ton of these boxes of leftovers. There are only 2 left. They all got eaten this week. I made some watermelon juice this morning with that. There is 1, 2, 3.5 jars of chicken broth from when we made the broth. It was my housemate's birthday this week too, so that's what the cake is for. And today I'm going to be making some egg drop soup with the leftover broth. The reality of filming actual life is that sometimes actual life gets too busy to film. I really did have every intention of continuing to do another like 8 hours of cooking the next day, but I did a little bit more that week, like with the waffles and whatnot. It's just, it was a busy week, y'all. But that's the thing about meal prepping and taking care of your family and life. It's not perfect, but it does keep going. So, well, this is not exactly the second half of the video that I had planned. I still wanted to give y'all a check-in. And thank you guys for hanging around. I found this dresser on the side of the street when I was out the other day and did some organizing. My room's a little bit chaotic right now. I got baby stuff that I'm piling up. Stuff for sale. This is all art supplies and office supplies and ASMR recording stuff. But with everything getting more settled, I've been thinking it would be nice to start sewing again because I really like to sew, and I don't know, maybe there'll be a video out in the next couple of weeks with that. Either way, until next time, I'll see y'all later. Alright y'all, excuse the after shower, it's bedtime look, but I did actually get the egg drop soup finished, and I was editing the video and I kind of just wanted to check in and show y'all. I put it all in a bunch of different little containers so that people can just grab the container, grab some rice, and have some food. That's just some leftover oatmeal from this morning, and yeah, the fridge is looking pretty dang good. And I do my best to keep things clean, keep things nice, but like, life's realistic, y'all. Sometimes a piece of cheese or two ends up there, or a water stain ends up there, or you got some rinsed dishes because the clean dishes haven't been put away yet. I feel like we're so used to seeing manicured lives that we feel like we also have to have manicured lives, but we don't. My family's fed and safe and happy and warm, and that's all there really is in life. Okay, y'all. See y'all next time for real. Bye.